Hello, hi. Today we are going to discuss something quite interesting. It was brought on to me by somebody who contacted Shift Density, and they were asking about what are the legal aspects of a relationship. What are the legal aids that people can reach out to? What are the different ways people can, get help from law? And I think we are, anyways, shift density deals with something which is quite like taboo topics, and law can also be something a bit tabooed in India, wherein um, mostly it is I think we see law and courts mostly along in movies and things like that. So it'll be nice to have a lawyer and get them on board and ask them about this. So today we have with us Tanay. Tanay is a lawyer at the High Court in Mumbai, and he has very gladly accepted to answer some of our doubts which are related to legal aspects of a relationship. And mind you, when I'm saying this, I'm not talking about marriages or something which has which is a legal constitution in itself. We are talking about relationships which are for people who are probably not married.
Hello, hi.
Okay, so Tanay, why don't you introduce yourself and tell what kind of work do you do as a lawyer?
Sure, I will. First of all, good evening, everyone. And thank you so much, Shivli, for inviting me over for this live. It's an honor to be a part of Shilton City, and I'm really looking forward for this, in some time. So, I have graduated from Mumbai, from Rizvi Law College as a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And before I got my, degree as a lawyer, I was interning with a couple of lawyers, which was basically into consumer litigation, civil litigation, and it was an extensive journey of almost 3 to 4 years that I've interned before I could graduate as a lawyer. So
Mm-hmm.
after being a lawyer, still, there is a lot of room to learn and explore. However, the journey so far has been so good, and it's really a nice thing to have
Yeah.
to be on the panel right now with Children's.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that you're here. So, let's try and understand what a live-in relationship is like, or and like what are the legal rights of people who are in relationships but they are not married, they don't have a marriage certificate, or they can't marry. For people who are queer, they like for them queer marriages are also not legal. So just give me an overlook of what are the legal rights of these kind of people. Like, yeah,
Definitely. All right. So first, let's understand what exactly the term live-in relationship means. Okay.
yeah,
So, this is not a concept that originated in our country in the first place. We talk about culture and things like that. So, when you talk about live-in relationship, there is still a stigma around it. It's a kind of a taboo that the older generation thinks of it to be as. Correct.
yeah,
Though we are moving
yeah,
ahead and we need to progress with time, where the concept of live-in relationship should not be looked as a taboo or a stigma in the society, where it should be much more open to the couple to decide if they want to continue living in together and then probably getting married down the line. So it's an experimental phase in life where the couple is trying to understand each other and getting to know each other's habit, and if they are compatible with each other in the first place. So I personally
yeah,
believe there is nothing wrong with doing that, because so when you get married, it's like a contract, correct? And before you sign
mhm,
up for such an
yeah,
important decision in your life, you definitely ought to know, like, is it really working out with your better half, correct? So for that
mhm,
reason, this relationship is very important. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, like, this is not the term or not a concept which originated in India in the first place. So there is no legal definition of the term live-in relationship, and therefore legal status of such relationship is also unsubstantiated. So in a way, when there is no book in our country which defines the term live-in relationship, so it goes without saying that there are no particular set of laws which are governing or rather, looking into these aspects of live-in relationship.
Mm-hmm.
However, uh, there are certain rights as an as an individual. Okay, like for example, if two people are living together, two couple are living together,
Mm-hmm.
they are they have their individual rights that they can resort to in case there are any complications that arise out of such
Mm-hmm.
relationship. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a landmark judgment as well on this by the Supreme Court in Badri Prasad versus Deputy Director of Consolidation, in which
Mm-hmm.
so basically the couple had lived in for like almost 50 years, and
Mm-hmm.
they wanted to look at it as as a married couple, because when they were filing for separation, looking for alimony, in which this famous judgment directed the couple to move ahead with the divorce proceeding as if they were actually married. Though they were not legally married, they were not bound by a contract of marriage, but being together and living for 50 years, actually,
Yeah.
in the yeah, it worked as a marriage or a pseudo marriage in the eyes of law.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So, so when we are talking about what are the legal rights of the partner in a live-in relationship,
Mm-hmm.
so when you are
Mm-hmm.
talking about rights, there are certain rights as in you cannot really exploit your better half when it comes to an anything that leads to an abuse. Correct, may it
Mm-hmm.
be a physical abuse or mental abuse, torture, sexual abuse, or any of that sort. There is something
Mm-hmm.
called as consent, which
Yeah.
also matters when you are in a relationship with anybody. So
Yeah.
for the fact when you are living in together, and if one person is open with an idea of exploring something new, and the other person isn't really keen on doing something that doesn't please him or her,
Mm-hmm.
the person shouldn't be doing it forcefully.
Yeah.
Okay, and when that happens, okay, that definitely falls under the purview of law when it comes to such criminal force which is used.
Yeah. Yeah.
Correct.
Definitely.
So first of all, exactly. So first of all, if it's in the preliminary stage, then the couple can seek help of a neutral counselor, right? So if there are some difficulties or some problem that the couple is facing and they do not know exactly what could be done about this, then there are always counselors who can talk you through this. This is definitely in the preliminary stage where it is not very late or there is not much of an abuse that has happened to either of the party in the living relationship, correct? But find better help or more help, then of course there
Mm-hmm.
are remedies such as making a formal police complaint.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So if the aggrieved person or the harassed person uh, feels that his rights are infringed, or something has happened that has not really gone down well with the person, he can definitely
Mm-hmm.
go ahead and file a formal police complaint saying that so person has been living with me and has been bothering me. There have been instances where he has abused me or hit me. So accordingly, under some provisions, the FIR can be lodged against such a person. It can be with
Mm-hmm.
regards to assault or stalking or things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when talking about the legal aspects, now
Mm-hmm.
legal aspects can further go deeper uh, when you talk about these topics or these subjects. So in the US, okay, there is this concept of restraining order, okay, against a
Yeah.
person, right? So
Yeah.
I believe we in India do definitely lack that provision, but there is something which is more or less similar, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's called it's an order of the court, okay, directing
Mm-hmm.
the person to stay away from the property or the body of the person, or directing the person to not contact the person anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
it's an application that can be put ahead or put forward by any civil lawyer.
Yeah.
And once the injunction order is granted by the court, then by default, the person who is who's going through all these harassment will definitely feel the relief, because the other person will have to move out or rather maintain distance from each other
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
sense.
That makes a lot of sense. So, You have talked about, what are the different aspects of, what are the different legal rights that people have. And so one of the things that you're saying is that when a person is being abusive towards their partner, it could be the only, like, one of the ways to get out from that is by taking legal help and working towards filing a complaint and things like that. So if you, like, you are a lawyer, so if you were to give me the ground realities of how, how long is this process and how much usually time that it takes, and like if you can give me a brief understanding of the stats there.
Sure.
So
Okay.
yeah.
So what happens is, when an injunction application is filed, okay, or rather when the court is moved with an injunction application, so it usually happens under section 36 to 42 of Specific Relief Act. There is a procedure that goes by section 94 and 95 and order 39 of the Code of Civil Procedure. So there is a procedure laid down specifically, okay, when it comes to injunction orders. So
Mm-hmm.
now might be the time duration of, say, probably 1 month from the time the application is moved. So the parties, both the parties who are moving the court with regards to injunction order, they have to come up with certain relevant proof in order to why the other person has to maintain distance, or why the
Yeah.
other person is not fit to be around me. Why do
Yeah.
I feel unsafe around that person? So for that reason, yes, like there is an application that can be moved under section 94, 95 and
Mm-hmm.
code 39 of the civil procedure.
Yeah. So yeah, it sounds yeah. So if you can, like, what about, like, how much time does all of this application, filing the application takes?
Well, it shouldn't take more than a week. All right. I mean, of course, there is a procedure that happens, but
Yeah.
when such orders are supposed to be passed, I think they are moved on, on priority basis, because this, you know, the advocate who's on record, it depends on him, like how fast he can move the application and how
Oh,
fast can he assure, or rather give, you know, uh, rather help the aggrieved party,
yeah.
or the person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he
And
knows basically how
so
to work. But ideally, this shouldn't be taking really long because it's just an injunction order. It is not
yeah.
something that's rocket science, and it's just one basic application that needs to be put forward. Both the parties have to be present in the court when
Yeah.
the order is passed, and
Yeah.
there has to be a valid explanation as to why the person should be, asked to stay away from with that regards.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there is a close relationship also between then lawyers and counselors, because a lot of people who seek legal assistance also need mental health assistance and counseling. And while we were studying, we were like told to work in the courts, like near the courts, and like get clients from there. I because I was working in Bangalore and I did not know Kannada, that I couldn't work there. But a lot of times when I'm working with clients who are going for a divorce or something like that, usually these procedures happen. So if I were to talk to you about this, like if you are suppose in a live-in relationship, and um, you're talking about the injunction order, that a person can, like, if your partner is being abusive and you are trying to break it off and they are not understanding that and they are becoming violent and not leaving you alone, so injunction order is what you would go for. um, so has there been instances where there is a possibility, like there are are there any more ways to protect the person apart from this particular order? If the person is
Certainly.
supposed, like for example, I also get, like, Shift Entity gets messages where people are looking for lawyers who can help out with threats, like leaking out images threats, or threats about like rape threats or acid attack threats. sorry and trigger warning for people, but yeah, these are the sad realities. In that, do you think injunction order is something that works, or like, is there
No,
anything
in such cases, police complaint has to be lodged in the first place. All right.
else?
There are certain provisions of Indian Penal Code which are applicable when such kind of crime is to be committed, or is the person is threatened with with regards to such crimes. Okay. So
Mhm.
when you when you rather make a police complaint, the first thing that you should do is try and collect a copy of the FIR first without
Mhm.
saying, because now you're making
Mhm.
a formal complaint. And when you're making a police complaint, certain sections of IPC when it comes to assault, okay, or something that's called as criminal force, under which there's something called as battery, under section 350. All right. So
Mhm.
when it's assault, it's more or less just a threat, or a physical abuse, or not physical abuse, but a verbal abuse in a place where a person is subjected to all these atrocities. But
Mhm.
when you talk about battery, then there is actual bodily harm done along with an assault, right? So for
Mhm.
this, there are laws in place, though they are not very stringent. I'll say they need to be amended,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
there is good 3 months imprisonment along with some 500 rupees fine for assault,
Mhm.
and or both in some cases or instances. And in case if there is physical violence done, right? So there is something called as so what happens is when you probably hit your better half, or you hit your partner, or you physically abuse that person can definitely move the court with under section 323 of the IPC as well, where uh, it's considered to be a more serious offense. So obviously the punishment for that is also a little more serious as compared to the one earlier. So for which,
Mhm.
if court is moved under section 323, there is 1 year of imprisonment or rupees 1,000 fine, or both in some certain cases. So what happens is,
Mhm.
when you cannot really wait for legal remedies to kick in. All right. So these are the basic remedies that you can resort to, which is obviously the police. No matter which city you are living in India today, I'm sure
Mhm.
like the police will be entertaining such problems or such disputes, and there is a way out to it. And this
Yeah.
does not apply only to a woman, but also to all the men around. So
Yeah.
because happens is when you're talking about domestic violence, okay, in the act,
Mhm.
there is specifically a mention about women being tortured or a woman being undergoing all these atrocities from men, but the other
Yeah.
aspect has been overlooked. Like, I'm sure
Yeah.
even go through a lot of
Definitely.
abuse, verbal abuse and physical abuse, and a lot of
Yeah.
torture as well. So this is
Yeah.
not just restricted to women. Even men can definitely move or rather go to the nearest police station, which falls under their jurisdiction, and make a formal complaint.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like quite interesting information that you gave. So, if I'm telling, like, if suppose I'm a newbie and I don't know anything about law, and I am going through concerns about my relationship and I want to end it, and I feel that it's going to be a very ugly one, it's not going to go easy, and I really need legal help. So, what are the things that I need to look for while going to search for a lawyer? Like, firstly, like let's break it down extremely, right? So, where do you find lawyers? Uh, like, which kind of lawyers are we looking at? All of those things, if you can break those down.
Certainly. So, okay, so now I'm sure like you have a lot of subscribers already to your Instagram page, and you're pretty much aware that Intensity is promoting such cause where anyone who's agreed or anyone who has a problem being in a relationship or maybe any other problem, we are always there to assist and help. I'm sure you also have some lawyers paneled with you who will be able to assist or help.
Yeah.
But when it comes to people who are unknown to all these remedies and they're looking forward to get some help, right?
Yeah.
So no matter what kind of a lawyer a person is, if a person is confident and if he knows his law well, he might be
Mm.
practicing on the civil side or the criminal side, because the nature of this crime is such that it can be put under criminal act as well as
Hmm.
civil act.
Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the remedies are different for different kind of sections that are applicable uh,
Yeah.
when person moves the code.
Yeah. So,
Finding a lawyer is
mhm,
not a big challenge, I'll say today.
mhm.
However, finding the right lawyer who understands the problem and who can definitely help you out through it is something that one needs to really look out for.
Yeah. So, yeah, so that's the thing, right? How do you do that? Like, what are the kind of questions that you can ask a lawyer in your first meeting, which will kind of, like you're saying, for you, it may be a bit easy to say that, getting a lawyer who knows the law well. But I'm sure we, as a layperson, cannot go and be like, hey, do you know your law well? So, what are the ways that people can actually, or like the questions that we would like to ask about maybe the qualification or experience? Is it even okay to ask that? Because it's such a prestigious profession also. So, yeah.
See, there is no harm in asking, the person's qualification or his experience. But
Hmm.
rather than asking his qualification, I think if he's already practicing at the bar and he's
Hmm.
licensed to practice at the bar, then the right question to ask him will be, will he be able to take up this matter no matter how much his experience is? Probably he's just experienced with 6 months of practice or maybe a year of practice or probably 30 years of practice, right? So with
Hmm.
seniority, obviously your experience in the field gets better. You have better understanding and knowledge of the subject. Okay, you're
Yeah.
more updated with the amendments and laws like that. But
Hmm.
even if someone who's a fresher in the industry and who probably can understand the client, so so basically lawyers are considered to be doctors of social behavior, correct?
Yeah,
When we
definitely.
are talking to our clients, we try and understand at least what that's what I do. I try and understand what exactly is the client going through,
Hmm.
which of it is different, and is there anything that I could have done being in his place, right? So I
Yeah.
understand like if I have to put myself in his shoes or in her shoes, I would certainly know that yes, this is not something right that has happened with me, and I need to, get help with regards to that. So
Mhm.
what can help me is, my own self. So if I have to put myself in the shoe, then I'll start researching with the relevant case laws and relevant act, which can
Yeah.
probably help the person. So when it comes to domestic violence, there is a law in place which is the Protection of Women and Domestic Violence Act 2005, right? There are other
Okay.
acts as well, like the Dowry Prohibition Act 1961, as well as Section 498A of the IPC. But
Yeah.
the two majorly concerned with married couples,
Hmm.
where where the couple is already married, and then the problem starts. But when it comes to
Yeah.
living relationship, there is only one set of law which can probably come into play, that is domestic violence act. Because there is
Hmm.
no other set of law which is governing or rather covering these aspects.
Hmm. Okay, that's quite interesting. So, okay, thank you so much for all of this information. And before we wrap up, I just want to ask you, you being a lawyer and you practicing at the High Court, what are your experiences? Like, if you can, maybe like, what is your wish for change with regards to how things are being practiced here? Because I see you being very open-minded about the idea of having a live-in relationship. But like you said, it's not very flexible like that in the court of law. So you also being the new generation lawyer. So if you could give a little insight on that.
See, what I feel is right now there are no specific set of laws which prohibit a couple from living together, correct? So,
Mhm.
as far as living in together is concerned, that has to be left upon the individuals to decide if they want to live together. But yeah, you have to make note of certain things, that there are certain managing, societies, uh, you know, societies in our country or in Mumbai or any place that you're living, they have set bylaws. According to them, they cannot probably permit a non-married couple living in the building. So you
Hmm.
that why? Because as I said, there is no specific law that can prohibit you or allow you to stay together. Correct. So
Okay.
the managing committee can decide if the couple who's not married should be allowed to live together in the building or not. But
Oh.
like now, as we are progressing to a better society, I probably feel that things have changed drastically. Like I myself have a couple of neighbors living in the building who are living in like since couple of years now, like few years now, and
That's nice.
yeah, there has been no problem as such. But
Mm-hmm.
I feel that there should be, a law in place which will be regulating, or rather, there will be some, stringent laws in place which will make sure that even if the couple is not married, one cannot be really exploiting other's body or other's peace of mind. That way,
Yeah.
correct? And one more important thing that I feel that we need today is, the concept of restraining order. I mean,
Yeah.
if like I had the ability to make changes to the system, like I would definitely propose the concept of restraining order, because I'm
Yeah.
sure problems would definitely curb by itself. If there is
Yeah.
a restraining order that can be granted with ease with an application,
Yeah.
I don't see the trouble happening again, because the person who will be stalking or mistreating or abusing the other person, he knows for a fact that yes, like there is something that is monitoring our moves, my action. There is somebody sitting overhead, and I
Mm-hmm.
cannot be misusing my rights.
Yeah. Makes
Right?
sense. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for this. I think in a very short period of time, you have really helped us with understanding a lot of things, and I hope people here listening have benefited it from it too. So, thank you so much for joining us, and for the people who are listening, Tanay is also somebody who has worked on making a couple of like laws for not laws like company laws for shift density
Policy.
and policy. Yes, I'm still learning these terms. Some policies for the company, and he will also be very soon. We are going to launch our own consultancy, and he's going to be available in that, so people can reach out to him. So, thank you so much for joining, and yeah, bye.
Actually, the pleasure was all mine, and thank you everyone for being tuned to the live. I hope it was informative, and if there is any question that you would like to come up with, you can always DM me.
Yes, DM us and we will bother Tane again and he will answer. Cool. Thank
Thanks.
you. Bye.
See you everyone.